G'day and welcome to another episode of the Footy Form Guide podcast. I'm, of course, your host, Walley, joined as always by my good mate, Harro. How are you, mate?
Not too bad, Wally. Good to see you again, mate. And, looking forward to getting into it.
Still just hanging over there in paradise, I see, mate?
Mate. Yeah, actually, it's coming to an end, tomorrow, very sadly. I'll have to be coming home. So I am missing the dog, though, there are those little things at home that you sort of start to miss when you've been away for a little while. So looking forward to getting home, seeing the dog, mate, and the rest of the family.
Very good, mate. Very good. No, and fair enough too. All right, Harro, we'll jump straight in. We'll have a look at the last week before we look forward to another bye round of footy. On the weekend, there was some hits, some misses, some frustrating stuff where we were a bit stiff. I think frustrating for everyone. There's an injury here, a player going under there. But let's talk about some of the highlights first.
Yeah, it was a bit of a mixed bag, Wally. We obviously still found some good ones along the way. We started the round with the over total points in the Cats and Freo. And Freo tried their hardest, didn't they, to make that a hard watch. I think, what are they, 3-13 or something at one point, but end up covering easily. And we had a nice one in that game as well. We pointed out Luke Jackson with a really good matchup. Yep. He had 26 disposals. In the Hawks game, we found Noah Anderson. We were keen on him. Also, Ginnivan and Massimo unders, and they all cashed. The Adelaide game, we liked Rochelle goals, and he paid $5 to kick 3, and he kicked the last goal of the game. He probably could have kicked more. He kicked 3 goals, 3. So that was a good one, and that game went really well for all of our punters following along as well. There was a lot of punters following that sent in some nice bet slips after that Crows game. The Blues, we came up with Ash and Whitfield both going under. We pointed out that I don't think the Blues had conceded over 31 to any of these only once, to these types of players, and anyway, they both went under their lines comfortably, so that was an easy watch. We also had the under total points, as we pointed out. Carlton are keeping sides pretty low with a new coach. In the Saints game, to finish the round, we were keen on Naz, mate. We pointed out Naz to go high, and he nearly covered at half time, I think. He had a huge...
It was astronomical.
Yeah. And also Bailey Dale, who covered late, and also either team under 24 points, mate. So that kind of makes up a bit of a summary of some of the highlights.
Now, there was a couple of heartbreakers there. I mean, it just depends where you go. This is why, and I will say one, you see, and not going the highlights, but just the importance of being okay with who you're betting with based on what you're getting in your betting rules. Because on the weekend, I'm just talking about in general sense, not necessarily our markets, but Sinclair going down instantly on a 1. Some bookies, you're just going to get that back. Other bookies, you're not. So to avoid frustration, this is a great time to just say, hey, just check in with the bookie you use, jump on live chat, ask the questions, and you're fine. It's like horse racing parlance, Harro. People are happy to bet with Betfair. There's no protest payout. If your horse loses on a protest, you don't get your money. Every other bookmaker gives it to you, but you're usually going to get a better price on Betfair. So it's just understanding that, because I know that I use that as an example. I was having a couple of jars on Sunday Arvo down the local, having a chat to a mate that had fell victim to that and didn't realise that his book, and that's why I tabled that one. It was on the front of mind. He didn't realise that the bookmaker he was using didn't do the fair play, fair go refund, and he was pretty flat.
So Wally, just off the top of your head, who does it and who doesn't? We know Sportsbet do it. I think Bet365 do it. Tab do it.
I think lads and Neds, I might be wrong here. This is what you got to ask. I think they do it if the rest of your legs win.
Righto.
PointsBet doesn't do it. BetR doesn't do it.
Yeah.
Who else is there? Crown, I'm assuming, don't do it. Maybe they do.
Don't know.
I haven't.
Yeah,
I haven't
good point,
delved
mate.
into
Ask
the
the question.
Gold Bet and Boss Bet and stuff like that, Harro, to know if they do it, but and all of those things. But I'm not sure. But it's about half and half of the bigger players.
Yeah. No, good point, Wally. Anyway, we'll get into the lowlights. There was a few actually, which really burnt us, which I'll bring up here. But the first one was the best bet, and actually, when I look back at this one, Wally, I probably see that there was a bit of an error made with taking this one, and it was, I had in my mind that the D's basically they've been really good to us with the overs this year,
Mm,
cashed in heaps of times betting over in their games, but they're definitely defending a lot better now. And if you look at the line ladder, actually their last 5 games have all gone under now, and a couple of those are a little bit weather related, and a couple of those are a little bit to do with their opponent as well. So maybe I overlooked those a little bit based on their opponent or the weather, but they are. And I watched them against the Crows. They're just defending so much better than they were defending
mm.
earlier in the year. So we lost on that one. We did have some player bets which burnt us, Wally. And the first one was Jordan Clark, and just so the punters know, we
Oh,
had a bit of a multi with Clark needing 18. Now he got 17. It's the first time he hasn't hit 18 all season. It's only the second time in 38 games he's missed 18. So we weren't far off, but yeah, he got us. The other one that was LDU, mate, and just to give you a bit of a
yeah.
like just a bit of insight into why we liked LDU and what happened. So this is his second. This is his second worst game in his last 80 games. You got to look through. If you look through his last 80 games, he's had one worse game than this. Now, Richmond are the best team in the comp over the season for giving up disposals to inside mids. Here is a list of inside mids for the whole season that have had 70% CBAs that have gone under 20. Are you ready for it?
Yep.
Round 2, Will Powell had 19, which is
Yep.
about his average. And round 4, Willem Drew had 11, and that's it. And now, the North Melbourne had 3 of them. They had Wardlaw, LDU, and O'Sullivan all under 20, all with 70% CBAs on the weekend. So something's just gone completely wrong with that midfield on the weekend. And I think what happened was like the backman just chipped the ball around so much, like just it was just all day Parker and Daniel just chipping the ball around in the back line,
Yeah.
which just meant the midfielders completely missed out in that. So we got burnt on that one, and I've looked back on it, and you can understand the reasoning behind the bet. So you just got to take it, learn from it, move on. And a couple other guys who didn't get it done for us, who I liked last week, were Brett Daniels and Joe Richards. Both guys who are new into a midfield role. And sometimes I think these guys, they just haven't
Yep.
sort of put the runs on the board yet to be able to be fully bankable players. But I think that they'll both had good games, and they're both good players. So I'm not going to lose hope on those guys going into the future.
Absolutely, Harrow. Absolutely. Now I want to get into the selection table. I want to do it a little bit differently this week. I would usually go in my ins and outs and whatnot. And I found I was going to be touching on similar things around fixturing rules and tribunal in terms of the outs. I will say 2 ins from the weekend. We've spoken a lot about Freo. We've spoken a lot about Sydney, Hawthorn, Geelong. Where will Brisbane finish? The 2 ins, before I get to a different way of doing the outs, the 2 ins for me played in the same game. Adelaide and Melbourne for different reasons. Adelaide can make a run and win the flag, Harrow. They are doing everything right. I love the look of the way they go about it. Rankin coming back in that team is huge. Rochelle is a permanent forward's great. It means the way they're playing as well, the way Jordan can go forward, they're less reliant on having to have big games out of their keys. And I think that their keys that are there, not Ben Keys, of course, they're key forwards I'm talking about. Ben Keys, great, but structurally important, but don't all turn up all the time. And Fogarty's not having the best year. Taylor Walker's not getting any younger, and Thilthorpe hasn't been like he has the last couple of years, but he plays a really good second ruck role as well. So I think that the way they're playing is incredible forward half of the ball. That back line, I don't care about the names in it. The way they operate, how organised they are, and the role they all play, their mid-sized backs are incredible. So they are, and their ball usage out of that back line. So they're a genuine flag chance. You can still get $11 if you're keen. We spoke about this a while ago, Harro. You did. You were
Yeah.
big on it. You recommended them at a bigger price a while ago because you go, look, they are setting themselves for the end of the season. They're not trying to win the minor premiership here and bank wins in the first half. They are getting their team right. And Nick's has spoken about it time after time about how they want to be ready to go come September. So I think they're in. The other thing for me is the way Adelaide played, and for Melbourne to go over there and get within 3 goals with a young side and coming into the bye, so they've been up for a while, I think was really, really good. And I don't think Melbourne are going to trouble the final day in September this year, but damn, Harrow, they are on the right track. So
Oh,
I thought
mate.
that game for me produced
Yeah.
what could be a short-term premier and what in the next few years could be another premier coming through. So I was really impressed by both teams, Harrow.
Absolutely, Wally. I think the D's are playing the best brand of footy. Like, if as a support, I don't reckon any supporter group would be happier than the D supporters with the way
No,
their team's functioning.
couldn't agree more, Harrow. They are very, very exciting, the D's, and a very bright future for them. You'd be very happy being a Melbourne supporter. All right. Now, in terms of Harrow, and I've got this here, in terms of the out this week, as I said, rather than me just going, as I usually would, going, I've got an issue with this, this, and this, and this with the AFL. And my man Tommy Morris nearly copped a clip today as well, and I'll give him a mini drive-by talking about Sammy Mitchell will take calls from opposition clubs. It's like, come on, Tommy. Come on, mate. That's fine, but I think he's fine at Hawthorn. I don't think he's going to leave until he secures a premiership. So I think we should be all right there. Anyway, what I wanted to ask you, Harrow, is the AFL, in their wisdom, however limited that is, have come out with 4 possible fixture formats for when the 19 clubs come in. And I want to get your thoughts because I reckon one of them probably will happen, but we're going to decide the outs. All right. So I'm going to tell you and you tell me what you think
Right.
initially. All right. So the first one is a 22-game season with 4 double ups, possibly including gather rounds. So they just have buys. It's a similar setup to now, but just 22 games. Gather round might be in there. So a similar amount of a season, but just there's obviously going to be the way they do the buys. So 22 games, it's one less game than they're playing now. Not a lot changes. Thoughts?
I mean, maybe I'll let you know like after I've heard the other ones because I don't have
Okay.
anything to compare it to.
Oh,
So, I mean, yeah,
well, this
go ahead.
pretty
Yeah,
standard
pretty
start,
standard.
right,
Yeah,
Harrow?
yeah,
All right, next one. 24-game season with 6 double-up games, obviously, including gather round and another neutral round. So they would maybe do a Tassie round or something. So they do another neutral round where you're not playing the venues. I don't know what that looks like. They're leaving themselves open. Fair enough too. All right, format number 3, Harrow. 20-game season with gather round, rivalry round, like that, and then a pre-finals group stage, which is fucking hilarious. All right. And then the last one, a 20-game season with gather round, rivalry round, a play-in tournament to the finals, and a mid-season tournament that goes for 3 weeks with all 19 teams, plus a state league all-stars team with like an all-stars team from all like the Sample Waffle and that who would get pumped. It wouldn't be a bad team if they get pumped. So basically what we're doing here, Harrow, is we're going to go 22, 24. So there'll be buys and whatnot. The way it is now, gather around and all that. That'll all be there. The 20-round season is an interesting one. So you would play all 18 teams once, plus there would be a gather round and a rivalry round. So, for example, Carlton would play Collingwood and then a game at gather round. Hawthorn might play Geelong or Essendon and a game plus their normal fixture.
yeah.
And then there's the absolute shit show, which is the last one. Where are we landing, Harrow? What's in, what's out?
Are they going to give us round 0? Because if we don't get round 0, I'm out.
Bro, you're not going to believe this, Harrow. Is going to be reimagined where all teams play and it's called like round 1. I believe.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. So I'm
Well,
hearing all teams it'll be some sort of event when all teams play. So like every other first opening round of every other season.
Oh, mate, I don't know where to go with this one. I just think maybe the 24 round one's probably the one, isn't it? That's where it's going to end up, I'd say.
I love the idea of 20 rounds with rivalry round, gather round. You play everyone once, so
Yeah.
there's a fairness to it. But then the problem is there's what's that? Another what's that going to be? Another 30 odd games of footy, 35 games of footy that they've got to find for broadcasters. So
Yeah.
we saw on the weekend, like the Sunday, there's 2 Sunday games on an entire day of footy, but because
And they overlap.
WA Channel 7 needed their 3:15 game, and the East Coast Channel 7 needed their 3:15 game, so both finished into the news. We're literally, the whole game is run by broadcasters.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, that's the logic behind it. So that won't change because that's where all the money comes from.
Yeah.
So that's going to be an interesting one, Harro, but I thought I'd just get your thoughts there. I think you're probably right. It'll probably just end up being like 24-game season. I saw you and Ralphie Horowitz, going head-to-head on it, and I think that the ridiculousness to try and, from his point of view, to try and say, you said the fairest way to do it is the English Premier League. You play every team twice, once at home, once away. Anybody disagreeing with that's kidding. The Premier League, he's saying, oh, it's this and that. No, the Premier League isn't decided by the top few teams every year because of the fixturing. It's got nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It's the money.
Yeah.
So nobody can tell me, like, if you were to play every team twice, once at home, once and away, that is categorically. The next fairest would be just to play everybody once, and you'll alternate every year of home and away.
Yeah.
That's just common sense. But Harro, I think we all want more than 18 games of footy for our teams each year. It's a bit light.
Yeah. The only way
Maybe
to get there would be just to have less teams, and I don't think they're going to go for that. So
can you imagine the quality? Imagine the quality if we had a dozen teams and they played 22 games. Imagine how good the teams would be.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yeah.
Imagine seeing 12 teams go around with the talent pool we now have in Australia, Harro. That's an in. That'd be huge.
That would be unreal.
It would be amazing, the quality. The teams would just be stacked. It'd be such good footy.
Would be good.
Anyway, doesn't matter.
Div 2 would be good too.
Oh, mate, Div 2 will be incredible. How good would Div 2 be? All right, let's get stuck in, Harro. We've got plenty to get through. We're gonna start where we always start, which is the Thursday night game. Brisbane, Sydney. This is a cracker. Brisbane's $1.88. Sydney's $1.90. The line's 1.5. This is a pick'em game, Harro.
Yeah.
Sydney, they've done everything right. They got to the bye. They fell over the line in a couple, but they'll be refreshed now. Brisbane, I think this is going to tell us where they're at. There's no time for building anymore. This is round 16. We are heading towards the business end of the season, Harro. How's this going to unfold?
Well, my first thought was, like, this should be a real shootout. The Swans are number 1 in the comp for generating scoring shots, 33 per game, and the Lions are number 2 in the comp for generating scoring shots, 31. Yeah, if you end up with anything around like a 50 scoring shot game, that should be enough to send this over, and both teams are trending that way. The only little concern with it is the being a night game up in Brisbane this time of year. You know, there's a possibility of it being a little bit slippery. The Gabba normally doesn't pop it too hard compared to like down in Metricon or whatever they call it, down the Gold Coast there. So I like the over 185, mate. I think that's a reasonable bet based on the way the two teams going about it. My sort of leanings towards Sydney in terms of who's going to win the game. Not sure if I'm prepared to back it though, because I know when the Lions front up in big games like this, they are hard to beat and at home. But my lean is definitely to Sydney because the Lions, they don't have the same defensive profile they've had in previous years. And with the way that we know the Swannies know how to score, that's where I'd be, you know, if you want to have a bet on head-to-head or if you would just be your footy tips or whatever, I'd be leaning to the Swannies. Now, a couple of other little angles, Wally, which we've got to have a look at here is we've got my man, the Heenmeister. He's set at 25.5, and if you think back to round 1, he was tagged by Jared Berry, It kept him to a season low of 16 disposals. And if you go back a little bit further, they've obviously got the good matchup there. If they don't use Berry, they've got Dunkley there. And you look at Heaney's last 5 games as a midfielder against the Lions, he's gone 19, 14, 23, 23, and 16. None of them are getting it done at the 25.5. So unless the Lions change their approach to Heaney, I'll be looking on the unders there. You look at what sort of happens when he gets that sort of attention. He goes forward and kicks goals. He's kicked 2, 5, and 2 in his last 3 games against the Lions. So you might maybe go under or look at his goals. Now, with no McInerney in the side, Chad Warner's been a 70% midfielder in the last 3 games. He's gone 32, 29, 26, and his line's 23.5. When he has played as a 70% midfielder in the last 3 years, he's 14 over and 6 under this line. So if we think his role continues in there, that looks like a good bet. Now, with no Zorko or Coleman, Wilmot is getting the bulk of the ball down there, and I just wonder whether he might become a target for Sydney as a possible guy that they're going to look to shut down, based on the Swannies. They do like to do that type of thing, and they do clamp these backmen a little bit. He's the obvious one for me for them to put some work into. The other guy I've found here is Grundy. His line is 21.5, and I think the Lions are one of the toughest matchups in the comp for rucks. They also kept him to just 9 in round 1 and 14 and 16 in their previous 2 meetings. And 21.5 is a bit of a high line for Grundy regardless. So I think that is one more angle for the punters on this one, Wally.
Plenty of angles there, Harro. Absolutely. There's a stack there in terms of over-under disposals. I like the Heaney goals one too. He'll have an impact, right? That's what he does. And if it's not disposals, it'll be goals. Great chat. All right. My Hawks taking on GWS on Friday night. Hawthorn's $1.31. GWS is $3.50. The line's 21.5. There's some interesting selection stuff. This is one of the reasons, one of the great things about if you join our Discord is that on a Friday morning after the Thursday night game and the Thursday night teams are announced on a Friday morning, we do an updated pod for the Discord where we talk to how things have been affected by teams selection and any changes to what we want. Excuse me. Hawthorns will be interesting here because Nash is still going to be out. It looks like Gunston's going to miss again. And then there's a number of other sort of like what's happening. Jarman Impey's going to miss, but what's happening with Carl Amon, Scrimshaw's probably still out. Just these sort of things, but it'll be interesting. And who's going to come in and play different roles. So this will be an interesting look afterwards. As I said, the line's currently 21.5. Geez, it'd be hard to have any confidence in GWS after the weekend. And Hawthorn did everything they needed to do going up north. I mean, what do we think?
It's a tricky one, this one, isn't it? I wish you could have a bit more faith in GWS, but you can't really. Like, they've come back after their bye, and they've been beaten by 2 sides who are kind of in the middle of the pack. So where does that leave them? And well beaten at home by Carlton, really, if you look at it. And smash through the midfield too, which is what you think their kind of strength is. So bit of a difficult one in terms of the line, I think, with Hawks having a few out. GWS's form a bit iffy. I do like the over 173.5, Wally. The last 2 games between these 2 sides have made up at 217 and 195. We were under in the Giants game against the Blues, but when we went through that was all about the Blues. Here we get a lower line than we got in that game against a side who like to score a lot more than what Carlton do, and their games go higher. So I'm quite keen on the over 173.5. Couple of players I've found here, Wally. Finn Callahan, we backed him on the weekend as well. Again, his line's 27.5, and he's cleared that line 6 of his last 7 games. And we just saw Noah Anderson, who's kind of a similar player, against the Hawks get 40 plus. So I feel like Finn Callahan's a good one here. Toby Green, his line's at 17.5, and since he's stopped playing midfield, he's 4 under and 2 over that line, and he now gets probably his hardest matchup. He'll probably have like a Hardwick or something, won't he? who's going to
Yeah.
be keeping him, quiet. Not in terms of having a bet here, but Will Day, I'm just keeping an eye on him. His time on ground still hasn't gone up yet. He still just did the 67% game time last week. So
Mm.
I'm looking to see his time on ground start to go up before I start backing him.
Yeah.
Just interesting to see when that's going to happen. Another one, we backed his unders last week and it won, and his lines dropped after having a low one, and that's Massimo D'Ambrosio. He's back on the
Yep.
MCG now, Wally, where he loves it, and his lines dropped to 18.5, and he's actually over that 6 of the last 7 games if you take out last week. So
He'll get over.
feel like we've found a couple of nice ones there, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, with Will Day, you're probably right to wait another week. He did start last week for the first time. So that was and then I think that they're doing the right thing because the temptation, you saw how impactful he was in centre clearance. They're doing the right thing. And I think that taking the time with him, I reckon it's not just a week either from what we've seen with him, Harro. I think we want to see it for a week and then repeat it and then we can get involved, if that makes sense. I
Yeah,
think with
true.
someone that's had so much time out and we've had so many hiccups, I think that patient and just easy with him is the way to go
Yeah.
before we get stuck in there. All right, mate. Next game, Saturday, the Baggers going for 6 straight under Josh Fraser. This is just amazing. You can find the stats anyway. Their data pre and post the sacking is just as like bookended as I've ever seen in terms of where they were to where they are now. Like it's just polar opposites. Carlton's $1.17, West Coast $5.10. The line's 32.5, Harrow. Surely the show rolls on.
I'll tell you what,
Surely.
Wally, I think we had the Blues over 8.5 wins, didn't we, for the season?
We did.
I've
We're
just
alive.
given up on that.
Yep.
And they're back in town, so it was geez, that was an enjoyable watch as a Blues fan on the weekend. They just played such good footy. It was really good to see. I didn't think they were going to get it done. GWS at home with a pretty strong team on the park. I thought that GWS forward line looked a bit too potent for them, but geez, they defended well. And guys like that Wade Dirksen, like where's he come from? He played a blinder. Yeah, just really good to watch. So really stoked for the Baggers. So but to this one, look, we backed the unders in the GWS Blues game, and just as I said before, it was all about the way Carlton were playing is why we wanted to be on the unders in that one. Um, and just to repeat myself from last week, these are the totals since Josh Fraser has taken over.
Mm.
153, 139, 172, 150, and 136. And we get, I think, a line. It's 173.5 here, Wally. So I'm quite keen on the under, mate. Put it simply, and actually, when you throw like GWS are a high scoring side, and Carlton kept that game low. West Coast games have actually been going really low as well lately. If I just look at their last 6 games, they've gone 147, 148, 140, 174, 159, and 166. So also their last 6 games, just one has gone over where this line is set, and it went over by a point. So I'm very keen on the unders here, Wally. And apart from that, it's not a great game to get involved on outside of
Mm.
that. When I've looked at like disposals and things like that, both sides are keeping the opposition disposal numbers quite low. And West Coast games especially are going very low combined disposals. And so maybe it's one here you just have your bet on the under. And actually, West Coast as well, getting a 32.5 start is a pretty big number for me. They're actually gone to the top of the line ladder. They've won their last 6 games, I think, at the line, and they're now 10-4 at the line. So they need to be respected. The market has been underrating them certainly in the last month or two. And I think that they could continue their streak at the line, although Carlton are also on a streak at the line as well. West Coast getting a 32.5 start, little bit there,
Yep.
like the unders, and just going to leave the disposals alone in this one, I think, mate.
Harrow, just a couple of interesting things to just indulge you about your Baggers. The first thing is that you play West Coast at home, then you play Richmond. Do you know who you got after that?
No idea.
So if you win 7 straight, you'll be facing the Hawks on Saturday night at the MCG, if you can
Ooh,
believe that. So
wow.
that is a Footy Form Guide special, that one. Here's another fun thing. So Fox Footy have signed Michael Voss, and they've
Ah,
put him onto Thursday night footy. Carlton have no Thursday night games. Now, I can't think of anything harder than being Michael Vox in the commentary box during a Carlton game where they're flying and he has to talk to all the positives because you can't be salty. You have the Western Bulldogs in the second last round, and you have Fremantle at home in the last round. There is a chance, Harro, that you will be playing to get a wild card spot in the last round. And because they want Freo to be able to travel home, maybe you get the Thursday night to finish off the season. Can you imagine Carlton have all of a sudden put themselves in a position they've got to play Freo to win and get into the wild card, and Michael Voss is on special comments? It would be just poetry, Harrow. It doesn't get any
There's
better than that.
probably
So
no better time to want to get Freo, really. Especially if they're going
exactly.
to be a couple of games clear on top. They'll just
Yep.
be cotton wool. No one's going to want to get a bruise on them leading into finals, are they? So,
Mate, I'll
yeah.
tell you one thing about your footy club is that all year when they were shit, when they're going well, they have been appointment viewing. Everybody has wanted to know what's going on. They want to tune in. And it's just been, I don't remember a team being in as much as being as bad, but having as many eyes on them and wanting to watch their footy as you guys in the first half of the season. And the eyes have stayed on you. It's fascinating to me. So I'm enjoying every bit of this run, Harrow. All
Just
right,
want to have a
we'll move
quick,
on now.
just a quick look at that something, Wally, while you're
Yep,
talking about that.
yep.
Carlton have actually, it's not often you ever see as a coach get sacked and his team basically, look, they lost by 63 points in round zero. Apart from that, their worst loss was 39 points. Like, they've basically been in every game, and the coach has been sacked. That's not something you see too often. Like, their average losing margin is just 24 points. Normally, coaches are getting sacked when they're getting, the
Mm,
team loses by, consecutive thumpings and all that sort of stuff. But Carlton really never got thumped.
no.
Um, anyway, interesting little point to make there.
But Harrow, based on what's happened, the things that we don't know about but maybe can guess, based on what's happened since, it was obviously the right move.
Yeah.
Because the
No,
club is the playing group's
the
been
results
completely
sort
turned
of
around.
speak for themselves, don't
Yeah,
they?
bringing harmonicas out and shit during the song, like, mate, it's a completely different place. All right, we move from Carlton to two other Big Four clubs in Collingwood v Richmond. This is a huge game, as always is, between these two, although huge from in terms of how many people will be there, maybe not the spectacle because it's a bit of a mismatch. Collingwood's $1.11. Excuse me, Richmond $6.70. The line's 37.5. I don't know. I need to see something different from the Tiggies. I feel like we're just getting the same stuff week in, week out. And
Yeah.
you'd love to see them turn up and do something a little bit different. I know they've had injuries, but at some point, the coach has got to try something, surely. Harrow, Collingwood's Collingwood. If you make errors, they punish you. They always turn up. They always put a good effort in. Doesn't matter about the list, age, and profile and any of that. Like, I don't know. This looks like just a foregone conclusion to me. Shout out to Ricky Gervais and Dave Brent.
Yeah. Look, actually, if you look at the two games that were played on the weekend, Pies versus Port and Tigers versus North, they could go down as the two worst games of footy I've seen all season. Both of them were terrible, and
Mm.
both games looked like a really like low standard of footy as well. I know the game with the Pies game was a bit wet and whatnot, so maybe you can forgive them a little bit there. But they were just two shocking games, so really difficult to watch. And it doesn't give me much hope that this is actually going to turn out to be a great
Mm.
spectacle either. And I'm not too sure what we're going to get. The Tigers are definitely getting some players back now, and I expect that they're going to put in some more competitive performances as we finish out the season. and they are getting a big start. So if I had to have a bet at the line, Tigers getting a 37-point start, I'd be there. I don't think the Pies have beaten the Tigers by more than that in their last 5 goes, and the Tigers have been historically really weak in these matchups, and the Pies are probably, they've been stronger than what they are now, and even throughout those last 5 games, I think the biggest margin that the Pies have had on the Tigers is about 36 points. So
Mm.
I found that interesting when I was having a look through this game before, and so yeah, maybe this matchup. And you only got to think back a couple of weeks, like the Tigers were pretty competitive against Brisbane, weren't they? For a long time in that game as anyway. So forced to bet, I'll be backing the plus 37.5. The total points, look at based on last week, you'd want to be under, but both teams have been a little bit higher scoring this year than what they have been in previous years, so I'm probably staying out of
Yeah.
that. Dacos, mate, he must be a chance to set a record this year for disposals, would he not? Like he's had 340s already. His lowest for the year is 28. So I would like to find out if he's on track to break a record in terms of disposals. He's got to be up there. His line is 34.5. I don't recall seeing a higher line than that, but I'm definitely not going under it. I probably lean over the 34.5. Because you look at what he's done against Richmond his last 2 games, he's had 42 and 42 his last 2 against
Yep.
Richmond. And he's obviously coming off 40. So I lean to the over 34.5 for Dacos. His brother, he's got a great role where he's just mopping up around half back. And we saw Daniel and Parker in that kind of role for North have huge games with 40 and 30. Dacos has had 30 and 30 his last 2 weeks. His line's 27.5. His last 2 against the Tigers are both over 30. So I kind of like him as well. And on the other side of the coin, like the Pies do give up heaps of disposals, and so there's going to be some good sort of bets for the Richmond players as well as a couple I found here. This will be a really good game, Wally. I'll probably do a full preview on this one, and we'll find a lot of bets in it. But yeah, short over 23.5. We just saw Darcy Byrne-Jones have 34 against the Pies, and the Pies ranked number 1 to that main defender ball user. So I really like short to get his 24 plus. And if I like him, mate, the other guy who plays in a similar role is Sam Banks, and his line's 20. And I'd be happy to be over that too, mate.
All right, mate. Very, very good. Okay, I've had a look. Jack McRae had 880 disposals in 2021. Tom Mitchell had 848 in 2018. On the regular season, Dacos is on average for high 700s.
Okay.
Basically, he's going at 35.38. But the thing is, this is probably with finals as well. So it's just whether they can play finals. But, mate, he's averaging 35 disposals a game. Like,
Heaps.
it's madness. It's absolute madness. So we'll stay tuned on that. But yeah, some bets there to be looking at. All right, showdown Saturday night. Showdown on Saturday night, and the AFL have decided to not do a doubleheader, which is fascinating to me. Just use the word fascinating. That's getting around in the media at the moment a fair bit. Kenny Hinckley's favourite word. All right, so the showdown, which always throws up interesting results. I just don't think it will this time. I think Adelaide are going so well. Port, don't get me wrong, on expected scoring, Port's in the top 4. But Port Adelaide's 372, Adelaide's $1.28, the line's 22.5. We spoke about it earlier. I think the Crows are flying. I think that this is the great sort of game for them to come in and just like make a statement in front of 55,000 screaming South Australian fans and just then really kickstart their run to finals.
Yeah, agreed, mate. Absolutely, like on the Crows bandwagon at the moment, Wally. And we were on them on the weekend. Now they didn't cover the line. They needed to win by 3 goals, and they won by 2 goals to 5. So that was a bit shattering, mate. Because when you've got a 3-goal line, you end up with 7 more scoring shots. You think you're a pretty good chance, and anyway, they just fell short. Melbourne were just fantastic too. So take nothing away from them. I feel like the Crows' defensive game looks back to the level it was last year when they were at their best. My initial thoughts was it's a Port game. Crows are defending really well, so I want to be on the under. The line is a little bit low on the low side, I think, so you can't be one that you're charging into, but lean to the under there. Both sides know how to defend. The Crows, yeah, just a minus 21.5. So it's a similar line we got against Melbourne, but the Crows are just, the D's are just a much better side than Port. So we're talking about a bottom sort of side, and Melbourne are like a sort of top 8 side, and we're getting the same sort of line. And there's no doubt that Melbourne played really well. So, yeah, keen on the Crows minus 21.5. They're basically full strength, everything to go for them. So happy to be there. Another one for it's a little bit tricky for disposal bets, mate. The Port have been restrictive all year, but I have sort of realised in the last 5 weeks their average disposals conceded is up from 350 to like 380, and it's midfielders who are really starting to find it against them. So
Yeah.
I've picked out Isaac Rankin here, mate. He's the guy that I'm targeting in this one. He came back on the weekend, obviously from injury, and we gave him a game to have a look at it. He had 22 disposals. He had 23 against Port last time. It looks like they're committed to him playing as a full-time mid and Rochelle playing as a full-time forward. When he's had 55% plus midfield time, he's only gone under 20 once, and that's in 14 goes. So I'm keen on ranking here. His line's only 20.5. Also, mate, I'll have a little flutter on the $4 for him to get 25 because he does that half the time when he's playing this role, and even a little bit of $9.50, mate, about him getting 29. So I think he's a really good one to target in this one.
Very good, Harro. Love that. All right. We'll move on to the Sunday games, and we kick things off. We've just got the 2 games again this week. We've got North Melbourne, Essendon. Yep, that's right. North Melbourne, Essendon, Harro.
Really?
$1.47 for North Melbourne, $2.71 for Essendon. The line's 13.5. I know North haven't been great. I know they haven't been great. And I know that, yeah, I don't know. 13.5 feels skinny for me. I haven't really seen any reason why Essendon would be covering that line. North now, Jai Simpkin, I think it was, made a point. He goes, we've never been in a position at this time of year when finals have been, well, the season isn't over for me. He goes, I've never experienced this. The season isn't over. And I think there has to be something in this where they go, hang on, we're in the 10. We're a chance to play in the wild card. We have an opportunity here in front of us with a team that has shown nothing. They've won 1 game all year. They're the wooden spoon favourites. 2 goals? Am I missing something?
I mean, North's form, I reckon, the last month is like bottom 4 as well. You got to look at it. They obviously got hammered by Freo. They just crept over the line against West Coast by a point. And then they did what they did last week, which was not a great game of footy, and they got it done, but it was very unimpressive. So I'm not looking to back North, and I'm not really looking to back the Dons either. They're actually, this one's going to be interesting because they're saying that the Dons could get like 6 players back this week. So I'm really going to want to have a look at the teams before I get heavily involved in this one. But there is an area I'm happy to bet now, and it's the under 175.5. I've noticed recently, like especially the Dons with the new coach, their ball movements got quite negative, so they're trying to move the ball slow, get their defence set up behind the ball, and their last 5 games, mate, they've gone 145, 139, 140. 131 and 165. So they're all over 10 points or more under where we're looking to get this one. Now, North were higher scoring, but we saw on the weekend and the week before against West Coast, some pretty negative play. And their last 2 games have just made up at 121 and 147. So pretty keen to be under this 175.5, mate. And we're seeing the total points bets pretty well at the moment. So that's where most of our focus has gone this week. And I think we found a few good ones, that one included, mate.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I said earlier, if you join the Discord, you'll get a post-teams look at this one and some more stuff on game day. I think that That's a great shout. Let's see what happens with the teams. Now, that does make sense. That's something I didn't even anticipate. If they get 5 or 6 players back, Essendon, based on North's form, the way I look at that almost like Richmond and Essendon play tomorrow. I'm flipping a coin. They still, like, North weren't great, but they still found a way to cover that line against a Richmond. But if Essendon get 5 or 6 players back, you never know. Last game of the round is Fremantle Gold Coast, which a couple of months ago we would have gone, this is going to be a cracker. Now it's like, well, how is the most star-studded midfield in the comp the worst midfield in the comp?
Yeah.
I don't understand, Harro. Freo's $1.20, Gold Coast $4.60, the line's 27.5, and it all makes sense based on what we've seen. But geez, Freo have been up for a long, long time, Harro.
Yeah.
At a point. I just don't know when it is. They're going to lose one.
Yeah. The big factor in this one, Wally, it makes it hard to preview a game when there's 15 mil of rain forecast. So that's kind of, I mean, how far do you want to go into it? You're just going to be playing the weather in this one. Aside from that, there's a couple. I'm really keen to keep following Noah Anderson. His line's 27.5 here. And look, he's covered that. Let me look. 7 of his last 9, he's covered that, and he had 43 on the weekend. He's playing really good footy, and most of them have been over 30 as well. I know it's a tough opponent.
And he's fine in the wet too, Harro.
Yeah,
so if it's wet, he'll be inside. He'll get plenty of ball. That won't be an issue at all.
Yeah, and also, Wally, I think if it is going to be wet, like, you probably, Matty Rowe's probably a good one to look at. Also, this guy, Wally, I backed him on the weekend, actually, Joel Jeffrey. And now Rioli goes out too, and he's getting kick-ins. He had 36% of the kick-ins on the weekend. He had 33 possessions against the Hawks. And look, I'd probably prefer it to be dry for him, but his line's pretty low, I think, for what he can do. And with Rioli being out, he's going to be getting a bit of an elevated role. It is a tough matchup as well. So a few areas, like I'm probably 50-50 on at the moment. But he's a guy I'm going to follow in future weeks. And apart from that, mate, the weather is probably going to dictate how we bet on this one. A little bit too far out to know as well, just given the Bombs record with these sorts of things. But yeah, 15 mil forecast. So yeah,
mate, there was so much rain forecast on Saturday in Melbourne, and it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
It was just like, so you just don't know what they're doing. Anyway, Harro, before I let you go, mate, we're going to get your best bet of the round.
And I'm going to go the showdown. I'm going to go for the Crows, mate. I'm just so keen on what they're doing at the moment, so I'm keen to support them all the way.
Love that, Harro. All right, mate, you've been great as always. Enjoy your last moments over there in paradise. We look forward to having you back, though, on these shores. Mate, enjoy the weekend of footy. Good luck to the Baggers to make it 6 straight. We've got to get that 7 straight heading into the Hawks game. That'll just be poetic, Harro. Mate, enjoy, and we'll see you next week.
Hooroo.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.